Hey everybody, welcome to .life, Dorchester's hyperlocal source for news, commentary, and analysis in podcast format. We've got a little bit different show for you today. We're not going to have the news segment, but don't worry, you'll still get to see Bill Forry. He's joining us for an epic conversation with Mayor Michelle Wu. We wanted to make sure that we got as much time with her as possible, so we're going to have two segments of Mayor Wu, and then we're closing out today's episode with a phenomenal Tiny Dot concert with Lincoln Durham. He's a one-man band kind of thing, but it's not like, I don't know, it's not totally like the ones we've had before. It's a little bit different. He's kind of hard-driving Southern rock performer, really fun, had a great story to tell us, and he does talk about Willie Nelson. So I recommend watching the whole episode. The mayor has some really great things to share with us and some perspectives on Dorchester as well as the broader city that you won't want to miss. So let's get into it. Hey everybody, welcome back to .life. We have such a treat here today. It is today, on Thursday, when we're recording, the 80th day of Mayor Wu's administration of her second term, and we're excited to have Mayor Wu here with us. Can't believe we're so lucky. Thank you so much for coming.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. We have a lot to go through. We also have Bill Forry.
Oh, hi. I'm here too. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Bill.
Welcome, Mayor. Good to see you.
Our great friend from the Dorchester Reporter. So we're going to talk to Mayor Wu about a lot of topics today. We're going to talk about street improvements and development projects that are going on, and actually some fun stuff too. So let's get started.
Let's do it.
Amazing.
It's great to have you. Welcome to Dorchester. I know you've been all over the city already this morning, and it's only 1:30. You've got some more ground to cover, no doubt.
I'm tired just looking at your schedule.
And 80 days in, it's hard to believe, like it's kind of this sped by these first 3 months very quickly. How do you when you step back and think about that for a moment? I'm not sure that you had a chance to, but as you think about those 3 months of your second term so far, what's your assessment? How do you feel things are going?
You know, it's funny. I was just writing a short memo to my team about some big picture reflections of feeling really energized of here's the direction for the next season and next couple quarters, and here's some values I want to be really emphasizing and habits that I want our organization to cultivate. And then I was just looking up one thing. I was like, I think I've said something similar to this before. I looked at my Google Docs and I had written a very similar, it was almost to the day, really? 2 years ago. I guess last year with the baby it was not in my mind, but it's a time of year that can feel quite reflective. I think the whole city starts to really come alive again as we're shaking off the cold. And for me and for the city, so much is annual traditions and annual calendars. And you have State of the City, or this year it was inauguration at the beginning of the year, into MLK Day and Black History Month and Lunar New Year and St. Patrick's Day. And you're just kind of running and all these amazing cultural events. And then you get to this little window between St. Patrick's Day and Marathon Monday and Patriots Day that the city's just sort of, okay, we're ready to come back out. So it has been 80 days, but it's really felt much shorter than that. And it's, at the same time, really obvious how much we're all still struggling under the chaos and uncertainty of our federal landscape. Every single week, sometimes every day, there's something new and unexpected that throws us into crisis response mode to save funding or take on some additional protections or coordinate with our partner cities and just lock arms for our community members. And it's also been so amazing to see the spirit of our community that, if anything, that's making us double down more on what we need to do.
Yeah. And then you also had the snowstorms this time, which is a little different than your first term. This was maybe the most intense winter of your tenure as mayor. I guess we probably don't want to talk about that too much because none of us want to dwell on
There's
winter.
There's daffodils out now, so I think we can actually move on.
But it was, two big ones, not too far apart. One just in the sheer 20 inches in 24 hours, 2 feet in 24 hours. And then the other, a true nor'easter that we hadn't had in some time. And the Public Works team and all of our city departments did a great job. But it's been a lot. We're ready to turn the page to spring.
And it kind of gets us into our first major topic here, Mayor, which is streets. And kind of Public Works falls all under one department, which is a huge department. Your streets chief has a big job in front of him or her. And, one of the things that's come up in our coverage recently, a lot of the comments, some of it a critique of your administration about the pace and posture of major projects like Blue Hill Avenue, some of the other ones that have people's attention. It does seem like there's been a little bit of a recalibration over the last year or so from your perspective. How would you describe that? What exactly is your take on kind of street infrastructure right now?
Yeah, I would say that's right. And our streets chief, Nick Gove, and all the team that he's assembled and is still assembling, as there's been significant transition all throughout the organization, kind of from term 1 into term 2. We have been determined and unrelenting about the need for continued progress, that our streets should be safe, calm, beautiful, and not chaotic or stressful, and that street design is just as important, if not more important, than all of the details that we pay attention to in other parts of our city policy, because these are some of the most impactful changes that we can make to people's daily lives, how they feel when they leave their homes and are trying to get to work or drop their kids off, or just put together the pieces of what it means to build your identity as part of a community, how you can get there, whether you feel stressed out or whether you feel safe or unsafe on the way there, is everything about your own connection to that. So we have heard a lot of feedback over the last several years, and I'm really proud of the pace and accomplishment, the scale of what happened. There were lots of new systems built, new processes to try to ensure we could finish a lot of the networks that needed to be connected and close some of the gaps and just create new ways of doing things that weren't just every time we wanted to do this kind of project, we had to start over and assembling, just more streamlined systems of getting streets infrastructure installed. And so more than 18 miles of new protected cycling infrastructure over the last 4 years, more than 1,100 speed humps, and lots of other installations that show we were able to accomplish more in the last 4 years than we have in any comparable period. And a lot of that was the really hard work of closing those last gaps with very complicated trade-offs. We also heard at the same time there were places where we stumbled, and that sometimes the process of how communities were able to give feedback on very specific details of design were not either incorporated or didn't have enough time to even result in changes. So I think big picture, what I want to make sure we're doing is it can't be speed over specificity, right? We need to ensure we're continuing the momentum, but especially in a constrained resource environment like right now, every dollar has to count. It has to serve as many purposes as we can, and we got to get things right and not have to then go back and undo, I don't know what the English idiom is, measuring, cutting one time.
Measured twice, cut once.
Yeah. Yes. Something like that. So whatever that applies to sidewalks and crosswalks as well. I think one other piece that we really realized is that we still, even though things have been able to now move fast and be more efficient, it has to be more coordinated as well. So it can't be that there's separate teams or separate ways of thinking about what we call state of good repair, right? Whether our streets are repaved and resurfaced versus new safety installations. It actually should be that when we go to do a needed repair and repaving, that's when we analyze, is it missing a crosswalk? Is it missing a bump out? Are there other things that we can do that actually then save money and time as well? And then I think finally, we have been operating as a city for now the 15 years since Mayor Menino really began thinking about bikes and multimodal streets. He kicked off a vision, and then it was a little bit of a sprint to try to fill in the gaps, because you can build 75, 90% of a corridor for biking, and if that most important chunk is just missing, people still aren't going to use it. And so it was kind of, let's finish these plans that were laid out long ago, but in doing so, the most cost-efficient way and the fastest often meant materials that were plastic, flex posts that can get knocked down and then stay down, require maintenance over and over again, or they just look like litter on the streets, or tested interventions that really should be revisited and made permanent, right? Sidewalk level bike lanes or raised crosswalks as opposed to what is always fastest, cheapest. And so looking to more durable solutions and materials. So it's not an on-off switch of either our streets have safety interventions or they don't, and we need to jam them through. But the details within that really matter to how everyone feels about their city, and it matters to how our city is connected across all, not just the physical locations, but cultural communities, the identity of our neighborhoods. And as we make those really intentional process improvements, I think we'll start to see sort of a maturing of how we do this in Boston, and I'm really excited to keep leading the way on that.
Nice. Well, let's drill down just on one specific project, which is the Blue Hill Avenue corridor. Recently, we reported that over $80 million has been now allocated through the federal government to the MBTA, which is nice to see the feds sending money our way. And at the same time, there's still controversy about this project. There's a bit of a divide about whether or not center running bus lanes are the way to go on Blue Hill Avenue. I know Phil Eng at the MBTA has been a big advocate for that, mainly because the bus riding public benefits, the tens of thousands of people, and you've spoken to this as well. The bus drivers themselves prefer center running bus lanes, by the way. But it's still a debate going on in the community. Where do you land on that at the moment?
Yeah, and I want to make sure the numbers are really clear here. The recent announcement about $80+ million is actually on top of the initial $15 million grant that our Congresswoman and federal partners secured. And so there is about $93 million of federal funding, plus the state funding, MBTA funding that's already committed to the project, plus another chunk of city. And so, to be honest, there are still, I still hear very frequently from elected colleagues who do want us to give up the $143 million of state and federal funding not to halt this project. And I know, again, streets changes are among the most personal to us because it's our daily lives and patterns and habits. And Blue Hill Ave is a really, really important corridor, and one that's already gone through a similar conversation now many, many years because it is so central. The initial goal of this under our administration was to follow up on some basically efforts to restore what had been taken away. That there used to be light rail running down Blue Hill Ave that allowed for the neighbors who live in our communities to get downtown and get where they needed to go effectively, reliably, and accessibly. And that was ripped up when, in an age of looking to prioritize suburban commuters driving in and maximize how much room cars had. And so the goal was always, we want our residents, the many, many residents who stand along Blue Hill Ave at the bus stops, you can, at any time of day, those buses are full and they're taking every generation to all sorts of needs. So to be able to restore some reliability there in one of the most congested corridors would make a big difference. Center running lanes, best practice that the MBTA and others would say, because it creates a space for the buses to go as fast as possible. But again, the details are in the design, and I remain hopeful and determined that we can find a solution here that really does respond to significant community feedback, not just from our elected officials, but neighborhood associations and other community leaders who have said, we have very specific concerns about small businesses, about loading, about delivery and parking, and churches and how they will function with drastic changes to how people are arriving at that destination. That also feels different block by block along Blue Hill Ave. So I am in conversation with the general manager constantly about a lot of things. Blue Hill Ave we've talked about a lot, and he is going through also and really seriously listening to feedback from our elected officials and community members to think about what other design details could actually be much more responsive. And even if that means asking our federal partners to adjust some of those design details, we want to hold on to every dollar that can improve communities' lives, but we also wouldn't take federal money just because it's there if it's not a design that works for our community.
So what do you think, and then I'll turn it over to you,
Sure.
Erin, but what do you think this time next year, say a year from now, Is this Blue Hill Avenue project shovel ready by then, do you think?
I think we are still a ways away. So even in the initial timelines, this is a very intensive project. The hope is that we can arrive at design solutions spring into early summer and really confirm how we're proceeding with the next phase of design, and then finish the design block by block, addressing some of these details. So I just spoke with General Manager Eng about this project, and both of us were very clear that nothing is set in stone, nothing is final in terms of the design, and that's really sort of each business, all the community members, all the different road users, getting everyone continuing to understand what is happening. We've now had many years of outreach about this project. Our administration has spent time riding the bus with bus riders and collecting surveys of feedback, going to neighborhood meetings, presenting the designs in all different settings. But we need to arrive at a decision that community members will be able to feel good about, and also understand the goals and how this has been responsive to feedback.
Very good.
This will look similar, I would imagine, to the JP example of this, which is Columbus Ave, at the end of the project. Is that a right assumption?
It really depends where you are talking about along the corridor, because Blue Hill Ave is so long, and because parts of it are extremely wide, it will feel different from that.
Okay.
And the hope is that it would feel different from that with much of it. The parts that are narrower, sort of in the northern chunk of the project, I think is where we need to have more conversations about what happens. And we've had some conversations about that Columbus Ave project as well, and the next phase that the MBTA is working on to connect the corridor that's already been installed to the next chunk. And I've heard lots of feedback. There's data that's very hopeful about the benefits to riders, but we've heard a lot of concerns, and a lot of people have not felt that that particular design necessarily captured all of the impacts on their lives. So we want to be very intentional, even as that one moves into the next chunk of it to be installed adjacent to it, or sort of continuing the corridor, that always reflects what we've learned from the first part of it too.
Okay. I want to circle back to what you were talking about earlier with the kind of this, since, I don't know, the 80s or maybe even sooner, there's this like supremacy of cars, right, of vehicles in our roadways. What role does mass transit play? You've got a great partner in filling right now at the MBTA, and you've tried some things like free buses in areas. What else can we do to make mass transit cool again, or to make it the thing that people do first, and they only drive when they can't take mass transit?
Yeah, that the ultimate vision is that no matter your income level, no matter your background, no matter what purpose you are using it for, that public transit would be the first choice. And that's the whole drive behind why I've been so insistent that it should be thought of as a public good, because for every person who is able to make that choice, even those who can or don't want to and are still driving, they benefit from another person not in a car in front of them and sitting on that train or bus instead. So it is a public good, like so many of the other public goods that this region and the city have been known for pioneering. But if you think about it, my first lens on everything is always as a mom, right? Yeah. I love trains. I'm obsessed with, for many years, understanding how all the details fit together and the benefits that they bring. And there's a real practicality, right? I need to get my kids to this thing, and then I got to get to this other thing. And if the schedules just don't work, I'm not going to be able to do that. I just have to get there on time.
So you're carrying
the stroller, the this and that and the other. So reliability, I think first and foremost, frequency of service. And this is where we've seen some challenge, because the planning can tell us one thing, that ultimately the vision for a particular corridor is that it needs to be served by transit, and that transit needs to have priority. But if we're not getting the immediate backup from schedules that show more frequent pickups, and then people are seeing a dedicated lane that's just sitting there, more unused than used, or at least in their perspective when they're there, it just starts to erode away the cross benefit that does happen. And so I think we have to be much more coordinated in how we provide the service level adjustments and the infrastructure. And that's something I'm really grateful to Phil and his team that they've been thinking through with us as well.
Last question on transit is around bike lanes, which you mentioned. We had the Boston Cyclists Union on in season 1, and there's a rampant bike culture here in Boston, which is great, and all the way up through to Cambridge and beyond. What's your vision for bike lanes, and is it something that is a focus to continue to expand those? And I'm thinking like Dot Ave, for example. Like, do you ever see a world where Dot Ave has a bike lane? I'm going to make a lot of people very angry right now.
No, I mean, the short answer is yes, that wherever you live in the city and wherever you're trying to go, you should have as many options as possible of how to get there. And it should be your choice. And it shouldn't be because of financial barriers. It shouldn't be because there's really only one way to get there on time. And it shouldn't be because there's really only one way to get there safely. All of those have to be adjusted, and in many cases, more infrastructure built for that. So, I have enjoyed a experience of reconnecting with a bike as a city councilor after I had not been on a bike in decades at that point since my childhood. And you realize it is in the places where it is possible because you are safe, because it is connected and that separated infrastructure, the protected infrastructure is there. It is so much better than every other way because you experience the world around you. You're getting some exercise. You're relaxing and able to move faster than the car stuck in traffic next to you. When you add a kid and a baby to the situation, it's a little more. One, your threshold for safety, at least as a mom, mine does go up a lot.
Yeah.
And I have lots of friends who keep asking me to take the cargo bike plunge. That's a whole separate budget question. Yeah. It's a big investment, and we've done things like make sure that there are now electric bikes in all of our blue bike hubs, so that if you want to go up an area that requires more of a hill or a longer distance, or so I've heard from some of our seniors or those from the disability community that actually opens up biking as another avenue that wasn't possible for them, and that's been huge. I'm very grateful for all the surrounding communities that have coordinated that with us across Blue Bikes. But we need the safe, connected, low-stress cycling networks to work from every part of the city. And again, we need the details of the design to be right. When there is a lane that is painted in the road, or a lane that is still in the road and separated with flex posts or even another material, that can feel very different than a sidewalk level lane that is then out of the feeling of drivers and cars. It is protected, it's beautiful, it's, I'm taking a lot of inspiration from how many cities around the world, and particularly in Europe and other parts of the world, think about this infrastructure, not as poles and plastic and things all over the place, and just a feeling of
like integration, right?
Stuff all over.
Yeah.
But this is part of the landscape,
and
right. Fitting with our city's sort of feel throughout all the neighborhoods.
Yeah. We're going to shift gears into development.
Can I say one thing though more on that's not exactly bikes or bus, but is about the connected idea of traffic. Maybe in addition to parking, traffic is one place where it's just a stress and comes up in every conversation. We have been working, in addition to being able to give people other options, to just adjust our own systems and signals to do better as well. So there are two main ways that this has been happening. One is curbside management. So sometimes traffic is caused by double parking or even triple parking on some roads, Blue Lab, because we actually need 5-minute or 15-minute pickup, takeout spots at the curb that then would allow people to get in and out better than if a car is stuck there and then they can't access what they need to be. So that's made a big difference in some parts of the city. The other big one is actually using technology. So if you ever are in traffic and there's only traffic for one stoplight or two, and then it clears up again, that's a sign that the signals are off in some way and being held red too long compared to the cross street. We've partnered with Google and their Project Greenlight initiative using AI, and the real-time traffic data has helped us now at over 150 intersections in the city, dramatically reduced stop and go time by telling us what time of day these signals need to be tweaked for which direction. And so we're not giving up on any possible tool to make the experience better for everyone.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
We need that in Lower Mills, please. I'm going to put a selfish request in there. Let's turn to another element of development, if we may, on. And we've noticed at the Reporter a lot of our coverage. I'm sure you've noticed on your own desk. A lot of the projects that are coming, and there is a churn of development happening. Let's be clear, but they tend to be smaller unit counts lately. The 10, 20, 26 unit buildings, and they move their way right through the planning department. They get greenlit. And most of those are going to get built. But the bigger projects, the Dorchester Bay City, for example, across the street from where we are now, hopelessly stalled, apparently. Even part of the parcel is going to be sold off, the Boston Globe reported this week. And much of that has nothing to do with your administration, your policies, but market forces and financing issues and things like tariffs. Thanks, Mr. President, for that. Whole laundry list of obstacles.
Energy costs now, too.
For sure. But is there, from your perspective, from local government, maybe a tweak or a different approach to getting the development community to maybe, look at things differently, maybe take a different approach to the mix of uses and also affordability? What do you think term 2 looks like in that sense?
Yeah, I think there's two parts to this. One is the new projects that are being proposed and helping them get through a process as quickly and predictably as possible, just even reducing the what are called soft costs of the project, how much time it takes to get permits, how many lawyers teams need to be involved and all that. We have really dramatically slimmed that down where possible, rezoning that can set the expectations clearly based on community planning. And then once you meet those expectations, you are moving through rather than having to fight through every single parcel separately and inconsistently sometimes from each other. So getting new projects to be as fast as possible. What I'm thinking about is our office to residential conversion program. Mm-hmm. So here this solves multiple needs, reducing commercial vacancies, adding new housing, and creating more foot traffic for our small businesses downtown and in some of the surrounding neighborhoods and economic corridors. We now have over 1,400 units in the pipeline for that, and there's all sorts of other conversions happening too around dorms or other arts uses just to get space activated. And those projects are moving through very fast in the permitting process. So I'm really grateful to the team.
Do those include an affordable component?
Yes,
okay.
They do. Yep. It's subject to the same affordability requirements as we have all across the city. The other set is the projects that have already been approved and should be ready to go, except they need to get their financing together. And that's where we have 30,000 some units. Not all are necessarily in the sweet spot for back and forth because there are a couple that are mega projects like Suffolk Downs or in Charlestown or other places that are kind of unique cases we're working through. But there is a good chunk of those that if we can figure out the right incentives to close the gap, whether that is the city's revolving loan fund program with our accelerator fund, partnered with the state's momentum fund, or whether that is phasing in of some of the affordable units. So we're not giving up the requirement for integrated and accessible housing everywhere, but we are on a case-by-case basis understanding what can nudge a project over the line, or some other tax incentive programs that have been used already through what are called 121A or 121B programs, payment in lieu of taxes or others, just to kickstart a project and get it going.
Yeah, we noticed recently that the second phase of DotBlock, for instance, is going to start work this summer, and that's in part thanks to your administration, Sheila Dillon, and Department of Housing kicking in some funds to help with them, in addition to the state tax subsidies that have been needed. So that's 70 plus units that will come online in a couple of years there.
And the total there is, I think it's 145 market rate units, but then 80 or 85 all income restricted, affordable units. And that mix, that balance is huge for the neighborhood. I mean, Dorchester Bay City would be another 1,900 units of housing, 19 acres of open space. And so we're working really closely to try to get things going as well.
Dorchester Bay City could be even more than that housing-wise. I mean, the original proposal had a lot of lab, a lot of biotech uses, office space. Maybe it's time for a reset with that team to say maybe you could add some more housing on that site. We'll see what they do. The other big site that we've been watching quite a bit is Kearney Hospital, and the 12-acre site right on Dorchester Ave, fenced off and shuttered for more than a year and a half now. Huge loss to the neighborhood, to the city. I know you tried to stop that closure, and you also were very clear that whatever comes next needs to be a healthcare use. Is that still your position?
Yes, absolutely. And the, I think, 33-member commission and working group that we put together across the city and the state, coordinated with city and state government, was very clear in their lengthy recommendations of what should go there. Healthcare use, and particularly some of the gaps that are not being served and that residents very much were relying on, whether it was the x-rays and imaging and testing that could take place, or behavioral health and some of the other clinical services that are very clearly needed and now, frankly, are seeing strain in emergency rooms nearby, whether on the BI Milton side or BMC and our other hospitals in the area. So the team I'm hearing, and your great reporting has showed that they are thinking about moving towards making some kind of proposal that will be vetted and viewed through the lens of those working group recommendations and making sure that we're staying true to that.
Yeah. We're hearing any week now there'll be some kind of actual formal proposal to go to the city planning department. So we'll all stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and the other development project, adjacent development project, which is not squarely in Dorchester, but close, is White Stadium. So obviously that's in the news again. I know, Bill, recently you've reported on a lawsuit that is resurrected.
Some new allies joined the team in the last couple of weeks. The New England Revolution, the Kraft Group owned New England Revolution, which was a surprise to some. But at the same time, they're in the soccer business and they want to see soccer succeed regionally. Were you surprised at all, though, that the Kraft family threw their support behind White Stadium?
Well, it was a surprise to me, actually. That had not been something we were expecting, but we'd been working closely on the Everett Stadium and how Boston's neighborhoods will be supported through that and the mitigation package, and in some of the conversations wrapping up the sort of legal documents on that side, it was shared that they wanted to be supportive and make it clear that it wasn't one or the other, and they definitely saw the need for both. So that was great. We also had, so that was a brief that was submitted, one of the amicus briefs in this next phase. So we're going to the SJC, and hopefully that will be the final step to affirm the rulings that have already happened in two other instances, saying that the city has the authority to move forward. There were also briefs submitted in support by our wonderful Attorney General, who has been involved and has looked at the law, as well as other organizations representing youth development, and others who've been involved in the process.
Right.
It's going to be a massive win for BPS students, I think, if that can push forward and give them some world-class facilities. So it'll be good to see
That's
that.
the plan and the vision. Let's, if you don't mind, turn to another issue which is in the news this week, of course, and it has to do with crime and punishment, it has to do with law and order in the city. The latest crime stats out this week show Boston continues to see a decrease in crime, 5% overall year to year from last year. Shootings are down almost 50%. Homicides are down about half compared to this time last year. And in the context of comparable cities, Boston continues to be probably the safest city in America. I know you believe that's the case. What's going right in that sense?
One, I would just say, again, on the numbers, I'm very proud always of the work how much hard work goes into public safety, community coordination, violence prevention. It's hard to judge year by year because, frankly, our numbers are so small compared to so many places that even a little bit of up or down, year to year can look skewed one way or the other. So we really go by the 5-year average, and even the 5-year average has been coming down as year over year the decreases continue. But we are well below not just last year, but also the 5-year average in many ways. And it's because we're a community that everyone knows that we are all involved in each other's safety. It's not just the job of police officers. It's not just the job of the DA or of the community crime watch or neighborhood associations. It's everyone working together this city was the birthplace of a lot of things, but one that doesn't get talked about as much is community policing. That concept was invented here, that it's not about just locking people up as the way to do to make improvements. Accountability is absolutely important, and that part of our legal system is important. But community trust is actually what drives safety in getting to accountability, and being able to solve crimes, and being able to involve every community member, regardless of their language background or immigration status, in feeling safe that they can call 911 when they need help, and they can help brainstorm and strategize about what they're seeing and hearing in the community that can help us prevent things from happening in the first place.
I mean, one of the things that could jeopardize that is the ICE presence in Boston, which has been fairly low-key compared to some other cities. Are you still concerned about a potential ICE surge and how that could impact community policing?
Unfortunately, every mayor right now under this federal situation has to be ready. And we've seen the horrors of what that can mean in cities like Minneapolis. And we've seen how much communities are coming together to try to protect what safety actually is. It's sticking up for the neighbors, finding ways to support each other. There's been a lot of learnings, and that's why we're in constant communication with other cities as well about the proactive strategies and how to prepare legally for what would be filed in court immediately upon any sense that something might go in that direction, what might happen on the community side, and our community partners activated. And we've now had some incredible partnerships formed with philanthropic organizations and community providers so that there's funding for legal defense and the services that are needed. And then the coordination on the safety and law enforcement side and how we would be prepared to respond. And I'd signed an executive order alongside 6 of our neighboring communities in Greater Boston so that we are also all on the same page to be clear of what people's rights are, and that our public spaces are for the public. They're not for carrying out federal immigration enforcement.
Yeah.
I do want to ask about the manslaughter charges that were brought last week against Boston police officer Nicholas O'Malley, accused of shooting and killing Stevenson King, who was a suspect in a crime that night in Roxbury, a carjacking. I know that the decision to charge Officer O'Malley isn't yours to make, and obviously the DA's decision, but A, do you feel like that was the right call, that he did that? And B, are you concerned about kind of the, I guess, how that decision might impact community policing and the trust that the community has with police?
Yeah. Speaking of safety, we are a city that's as safe as we are because of community members trusting that they can work together with our police officers and public safety agencies and partners. And we're also safe because all of us have to trust and rely on a legal system that carries forward justice impartially and following the law. That system is based on different agencies, and in this case, the district attorney's office, who has control of and leads the investigation whenever Boston police are involved in a situation. And they look at all the evidence and they make the call on when and if that threshold of probable cause has been reached in order to take the according steps. And we have to let that process play out as it always does, without any premature release of materials that might, in the DA's eyes, affect or undermine the integrity of a potential grand jury or the next steps in the legal process, and also make sure that, again, all the rules and laws are being followed at every point. But it is definitely a strain on community trust, and it's I fully support our Boston Police Department. I'm thinking of the officer and his family in this moment, and also the family that is grieving a loved one in Boston. And so we all have to follow that process through and continue to do the work of focusing on how we keep people at the table together.
Just a quick follow on that. Some elected officials have called for the body camera footage to be released to the public. Others, like Representative U.S. Rep. Presley, has said at least show it to the family. Do you of Mr. King? Do you think that should be done?
So let me be clear that in Massachusetts, body camera footage is public record, right? With certain exceptions, for example, for survivors of domestic violence, or in other instances where we don't want to discourage or create a situation where survivors wouldn't feel safe coming to police and then being captured on footage. Anyway, that's a different issue from here. But in general, that footage is public record and will be released to the public. The city has a long-standing process and way that first the family is brought in before, just out of that respect and dignity of that sense of care for them, and then to the public as well. However, all of that is subject to when it is appropriate, given ongoing investigations, to be released. And so when the district attorney who is in charge of a particular investigation says this cannot be released until we get to a certain point, or until we're past a certain moment when there's concern about how this would influence the outcome of a particular step, or whether this would call into question the legal processes, that the legal steps that took place, that has to be the priority. And so I think this is not in either or, do you release it or do you not release it? It is public record. It's just a matter of when is the appropriate time in the process.
Got it.
I want to shift over to education. You kicked off early in your second administration. You kicked off from, I think, Chinatown, school in Chinatown, kind of your state of what you're laying out for your agenda for your second term. Meanwhile, in Dorchester, there's been, I think, 3 schools that are fully closing in the next couple of years. And then the Henderson School is reducing, and a lot of what they're reducing is special needs access and education. So talk about your vision for education, particularly in Dorchester, if you don't mind. And then also, like, how do we make sure that we serve students who have special needs?
I'm a BPS mom, and so this is one of the most important parts of how I see any city's success or quality for families, is whether you feel safe, confident that the thing that matters most to you in your personal life, your kids, are going to be entrusted over to which educational institution. And that I believe our public schools, which are the first in the country, the oldest in the nation, should be the best as well. And so we're really striving in everything we do to make BPS the first choice for all of our families in Boston. That means not just I think sometimes the usual conversation is, oh, we have too many seats, there's declining enrollment, close seats, save money, et cetera, et cetera. That's actually not the frame and the goal that we have. The actual goal is we need to have enough high quality seats to meet the specific needs of all of our students who represent multiple different student populations. And so a lot of the work that's been happening in the first part of the last 4 years in the last term was to invest in services that were missing. We had seen a little bit of a decline or shutting down of what's called alternative education programs in Boston, programs that help students who might have fallen behind in their studies to recover their credits, or students who really are working or have a different kind of schedule and want to manage their education in a way that meets those needs. There are programs now that have been built back up. There are programs now that better serve our students with special education needs in the older grades and in the transition years. There are programs that have been set up that better serve an expanded multilingual student population as well. So now all those investments have been made. We are able to ensure that we're creating the best quality for students. Because in the past, whenever mergers or closures had happened, it often would feel like shuffling students around to another experience that wasn't the highest quality for them. And we want to guarantee that anytime there's a move, especially one that results in disruption for the family and changes for the student and the school community, that we are guaranteeing there's a better experience on the other side of that, with the individualized supports to help you help match you with that. So we have been analyzing and going out to community, and we established what are called educational specifications around what each elementary school and what each high school needs to have as a minimum. It should be guaranteed, not just that there are spaces for math and reading and all that, but arts, science labs, programming, supports for social emotional resources that are needed. And from that, there's now a tool online where anyone can go look at their Boston Public School or any of the Boston Public Schools and see their building experience score in a number of ways. And that will show you whether the building is big enough to have the full scale and the full range of opportunities. You want there to be sports, and you want there to be a full range of AP classes, and whether the building is up to date enough in terms of when the boilers and the roof and all that
air
stuff
conditioning,
bathrooms, all that needs to be fixed. We've been making a lot of good progress, but there are schools that have been under-enrolled, and either the building is far larger than the student population that has been choosing that school, and therefore they can't sustain the scale of classes, or they're buildings that might be too small. And if you only have one class per grade, you can't offer the full range of things. So it's taking there are a lot of dominoes involved, and there are a lot of considerations that go into each decision. But we've set up a timeline where every single year at around the same time, there will be proposals made that don't then send everyone into chaos because they're immediately shutting down this or that or changing something. But it identifies a pathway so that this is done thoughtfully. There's plenty of time for community conversation. And then even the implementation of it is phased in a way that every student is supported.
Two quick things at the macro level. One is we recently had Dr. Ojikutu on the podcast to talk about the Closing the Gap report in Black life expectancy in Boston, which is much lower than their white counterparts. That report found, obviously, that there are a lot of systemic problems that contribute to health outcomes for people of color. What is the city's plan to kind of address this systemic racism that exists?
Yeah. Well, if you go online, you can look at the Live Long and Well plan. It's the first time that the city has had a true health equity agenda that has also been backed up by funding and supports through our partnerships with the Atreus Foundation, which has really helped pull together some coalitions that are doing this, and also the Public Health Commission in the city. So the data identifies exactly what the top sources are for that disparity. Fatal overdoses is one area where Black residents were much more likely to experience that. And that's an area where, with our work over the last several years at Mass and Cass and building up new systems, that number has come down. And we have seen a dramatic reduction there, proving that when we have the right focus and we can target what's needed, it can result in changes fairly immediately. The other area that we've been talking about recently, which is the a next large area, is around cancer prevention. And so how do we make sure that residents who live in a mecca of healthcare and some of the best options ever, we're filling in the gap in Dorchester, but the timing of when you find out that you need treatment makes all the difference. And if you're not getting screened regularly, if you haven't had that information or access, then we're already falling behind on what we need to do. And so this is an effort to make sure that everyone has access to those screening and prevention resources. And we're going to keep going down that list to address chronic disease, to ensure that there's food access and job access and all of the social determinants also that support closing these gaps.
One thing about that report that I found interesting was it didn't capture the post-Kearney Hospital closure, right? It ends in 2024. So unfortunately, we may see some impacts from that in places like Dorchester and Mattapan. But I do want to salute Dr. Ojikutu, who's been really driving the messaging, not only about that, but about vaccines. And, you know, one of the things she probably didn't expect to have to do in this job is, you know, kind of counter the federal government's guidance that keeps bombarding people with misinformation. Just this week, she had to do that once again. It's
where we get our data from. Some of these websites are being scrubbed. The federal government isn't always tracking what we need to track. And so a lot of that because of Dr. Ojikutu, is being managed and continued at the local level.
Yeah, and she's been on here
Couple
more than
times.
she's a great source and a Dorchester resident.
Yes, she is. Last thing on Dorchester specifically is, we are maybe more susceptible than other neighborhoods to climate change. We have coastal flooding, Marcy floods on a fairly regular basis.
I've heard that, yeah, once or twice.
Bill has canoed to work a few times. We've got heat islands. Just, it's hard to fit climate change into the last minute or so, but can you reassure residents that that has not fallen off, even though it is constantly kind of pushed aside to more timely and urgent matters?
Yeah, and I think the most important thing that people should know is that how we're thinking about climate in the city is not separate from every other area. So the work that we're doing on public health very much is about clean air, clean water, and what we need to do to protect people from rising impacts of heat and intense storms. The work that we're doing on streets also includes green infrastructure to collect rainwater and keep it even out of the sewers and the pipes that need to be addressed because they're designed for when floods used to be much less frequent and fewer inches of rain coming down. And even in how we're thinking about our built environment and planning and development, every project that we just talked about goes through a significant review of how, in what they already have to do, they're incorporating either building the berm to protect against the floodwater. Dorchester Bay City is sort of key there for climate protection in addition to everything that we were just mentioning. So it's integrated into all of that. This year is a big year because we're doing the Boston Climate Action Plan update. It's every 5 years that gets updated. The original goal was to set big picture, 2050 vision and how are we tracking things. I don't have the patience for 2050 at this point. We got to make sure that we are doing things now. And yes, to get anywhere close to our long-term goals, this action plan is going to be about what are the actual steps that we're taking from now over the next 5 years that you will be able to measure and to see. And so that plan, the first draft was released. We got a lot of feedback. We're putting out the next draft of that. And then with more details from that feedback, one more round of public input, and then we're going to be off and running and pulling in all of our partners to help with that.
And that will likely be without much federal support at this juncture.
So, for better or worse, federal processes can take a long time. And this might be the one case where, for example, we've been working with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. When they go and do the analysis with the local community, then they sign off on the needs and the scale of what has to be done. That then qualifies your project for hundreds of millions of dollars of federal funding to actually get it done. So we kicked that off at the beginning of last term, and I was really upset that it was going to take, 5-7 years to get through it. But now it's sort of like, well, maybe the timing will be just right anyway.
Are you ready for a lightning round?
Let's do it.
Amazing. Let's start with your favorite Dorchester dinner spot.
Okay, this one is, I have to say two that are right next to each other, of both Follet and Faurois.
Okay.
If I could only eat one meal for the rest of my life, every single day, it would be Vietnamese pho noodle soup. And both of those are amazing. We go with the family every time we can. Everyone loves it, and the best comfort food.
Is that a sit down or a takeout situation for you?
Sometimes we take it out, but when you're taking out soup, you kind of then have to heat it back up, and they put it separate from the noodles. It's not as good as if you just sit and enjoy.
Nothing like it. That's exactly right. I guess I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite place to just grab a drink? It doesn't have to be an alcoholic one.
Okay. I'm not much of a drinker, alcohol drinker. So the bubble tea at Cocoa Leaf is a huge one. Ice Cream Smith also has great fraps and
Legacy Business Award winner from last year.
50 years now,
Yes.
50th anniversary. I think they called it their Golden Jubilee flavor that was specially for this celebration. Was so good. Butterscotch and caramel all mixed together.
Can't go wrong there. They have a specialty flavor every week at the Ice Cream Smith.
We ate Ice Cream Smith on the podcast in season 1.
It was very sloppy, but yes, we did.
What about your favorite Dorchester landmark?
I like the pear. I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know if everyone likes the pear. I'd be curious what yours are, but was Everett Square, right?
Yes.
And the reminder that this has always been a region of nourishment, and it from the Roxbury russet apples that were the first apple cultivar that was unique to the United States, right here in Boston, to the fruit trees that used to be everywhere. It just reminds me of that, and it's cool that it's a gigantic pear.
Yeah, not everybody understands that is a pear.
Yeah.
I don't know what they think it is.
I know. I have to say I think the gas tank is my favorite,
Oh,
but
yeah, that's
I
a good
think the
one.
pear wins for whimsy.
Yeah.
It's just a giant pear in the middle of the
gas tank
street.
too is also
Yeah.
the rainbow colors. It's
Yeah.
great.
It seems to pop up a few times here on
I
our
have
logos.
I have a gas tank mug at home.
Nice.
So I see it often.
Do you have any other ones?
Good choice. I guess what if you're going to go out to a public park in this part of the city, what's your go-to?
My kids have all sorts of ratings and needs. And so there are lots of great options. I like Ceylon Park because it kind of brings everyone in. Mother's Rest, we also just renovated with a lot of, now there's all these features for the kids, and it's a great place just to sit and sort of watch over down below what's happening from the area up above, and so many great events there too.
Great views of the gas tank from Mother's Rest, too. Not so much the pear, though.
No, not the pear. You're originally from Chicago.
Yep.
I'm from Buffalo. How do you handle Boston sports fans? What's your secret?
Well,
'Cause
I
can't.
just converted long ago.
Oh.
It wasn't hard because
See?
my
Jeez.
first moment in Boston, and I will just, in my head, I take credit for it. Right, 2004. I'm here as a college kid. All of a sudden, the curse is broken. Right, you're
That
welcome.
was you?
You're welcome. No, it was in all seriousness, it was the best possible welcome to a place, right?
Yeah.
To be swept up all season there and seeing how intensely, and Harvard's a place where you don't always get off campus and it can feel a little like a bubble, but
Yeah.
there were so many reasons to feel like part of the larger city there, and it was pretty magical.
There you have it. I mean, what
Also
more?
the Celtics. I'm a anything, anywhere, and they're so great in terms of being involved in the community. All of our teams really care about Boston, and that's the best part of all.
All right. I regret asking that question.
Yeah, no.
You still hope for you, Erin.
There's no hope
You can
for
still
me.
keep one Buffalo team, and then you can convert all the
All
others.
the rest, yeah.
Dorchester's about to turn 400. It is 2030 will be our 400th anniversary. If you could model Dorchester as a model for the rest of Boston, what would you like to see?
We've been having a lot of those conversations as we head to the 250th this summer about.
That's young compared to Dorchester.
I know, just a baby,
Those
in the
kids.
United States, and what it still means to hold the values of freedom and standing up for what's right. And I think Boston and Dorchester, same age, right? Headed to 2030. I'm curious about the month. I got to figure that out. Which one?
May to June is
May
the
to June.
difference.
Okay. And what it meant at that moment to think about the common good and building a new world where people could envision all sorts of public benefits. It's striking to me that in every category, when we think about what makes for our society and the foundations of democracy, it's always, that was invented in Boston, that was invented in Boston. So whether it's the Mather School and first public elementary school in the country, to first subway system, first public library, all things that in today's mindset, can you imagine saying, I'm going to have a place and you can take whatever you want out of it for free, and maybe we'll put a barcode on it, check it out or whatever, and then you just have to promise to bring it back later. It's just remarkable how much people realized how closely connected we are to each other in this moment and also to future generations.
That's a great place to end.
I think so too. Thanks so much for coming.
Mary, it was great to have you.
Thank you
much.
so much.
Dot Life is sponsored in part by the Dorchester Reporter, Dorchester's own community newspaper and online home for all things Dorchester at dotnews.com. The Reporter, owned and operated by the Forry family, has been laser focused on Dorchester and the surrounding neighborhoods of Boston since 1983. That longevity and experience shows in its award-winning coverage every week. The Reporter is our go-to source for authentic stories about the people, places, and events that matter most to our daily lives. We are proud to partner with The Reporter and .News. And you can support the important journalism provided by The Reporter. Just go to .news.com to subscribe today. It's the best deal in town and helps keep our local community journalism alive and well. Welcome back, everybody. It's time for the Tiny Dot concert, and I'm joined today by Lincoln Durham. Hey, how are you, Lincoln?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's so awesome to have you here.
It's amazing to be here. It's amazing to be asked. This is really cool.
Yeah. I think I met you through Dorchfest.
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay.
You played Dorchfest last year?
Yeah.
Cool. I hope we can get you back.
That was a lot of fun. That's a new experience for me. The porch is doing that, and I did it for the first year a few years ago.
Which one did you do?
I think I did the Maynard one.
Okay.
And then another one that I don't.
Did you
don't
do
remember,
Somerville or JP, or no?
No, not JP. I would remember that. That was the. I like going over there. So I maybe the Somerville. But the whole idea of it was so cool. And
is it not a Texas thing?
No,
really?
not like that. No.
Okay.
No, that was very, unique to me at least.
Yeah.
I thought it was it's a really cool thing. So I try to do them because it's a lot of fun. It's very low stress. It's very easygoing, low pressure. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun to do, and it turns out I absolutely love them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I just teased it, but you're originally from Austin?
Yeah.
Is that like your OG place?
Yeah,
Okay.
Originally from Texas, a town called Itasca, Texas, technically, which is kind of in the middle of a lot of like DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth area, or like south of that. But anyway, my wife and I lived for the longest in Austin, and that's where we came from when we moved up here.
Okay, and you're now find yourself in Maynard?
Maynard, Massachusetts. We've been there for 4 years or so now, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So tell us about your music. How would you describe yourself?
Oh.
Do you call
obnoxious?
I don't think that's fair.
What I used to do is on all the tours, when people would, if they were new to me, they would say, "Man, you got a kind of a blank style," and so I just started kind of hyphenating all those descriptors,
So it's like this long.
Yeah, this long thing. But I think now it's kind of settled on it's like a Southern Gothic, Americana blues thing.
Okay.
So kind of a dark tones and
kind of ragey, but in a
it can be
chill
ragey.
way. Yeah.
And honestly, it used to be even ragier, and I find myself nowadays dialing back.
Older.
That's it. I'm just too tired to rage.
And your wife is slightly murdery, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I think all wives should be a little bit murdery. I think that's fair. So the reason I say that is because you will be playing a song on an axe.
Yes, it's a song I wrote for her, which I'll describe
romantic.
in the song. She was my tour manager all the years of touring, and you have to be tough. You have to be tough. Regardless, but I, in my opinion, especially as a woman, and she is and was, and it was great. I wrote that song wrote Annie D. Partee for, and it's just it's like a tough woman anthem, I think. written by a man, but whatever. Don't worry about that.
So I want to talk about your instruments because you didn't used to tour solo, right? Like you were part of a band.
No. As myself, yeah. I used to. Okay. I was in bands here and there at a really young age. Okay. I started playing fiddle when I was a little kid, and I would be in bands at 8 years old, and I was playing in honky tonks with 40-year-olds. It was weird. So I was in a band then, but under my stuff, no, it was always a one-man band, but it was really out of necessity. And when I say really, I mean it actually just flat out was out of necessity at the time. and we couldn't afford to. So it was her and I. We were both making the music money.
Okay.
And so, it was lean,
Yeah.
and the idea was always to get big enough to afford a band. But what happened over time, I started getting bored with what I was doing, and I think, well, I'm tapping my foot. What if I put this under it? And, okay, well, what now? I've got that down. What if I put this other thing under it?
Mm-hmm.
And then what if I added this and that and this and that? And eventually, people, my fan base that had grown a bit was starting to say, "Don't ever get a band. Just keep it as that."
Oh, that's cool.
And so then, it's like, well, that's a easy. I mean, I'd rather have a band, but I can't afford a band. But they're asking me not to get a band,
Right.
so I guess we'll just keep going as is.
Keep adding pieces.
You're just adding band. It got obnoxious for a while. I had so much stuff that I had a full band of junk, and now I think also age is just I don't want to bring all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I've whittled down, but not a lot. I'm still bringing an obnoxious amount of stuff.
So, what are the core pieces?
The kick drum here.
Yep.
I have a tambourine and a kick drum that I just kind of go back and forth with the one foot because I stand up, as you'll see, and because I never wanted to sit because I just didn't want to bring. I wanted the show to be as lively as possible, and I didn't want to settle people down by sitting. So I always tried to do it with one foot. I used to have a snare drum and a floor tom and also, but I was just doing like one song per thing, and it was just too much. But nowadays, I split my guitars between a regular Fender amp, and then I split it down to a bass amp just to get some meatiness, some thickness.
Okay.
And I've got a couple mics of a regular vocal mic, and then a lo-fi AM radio kind of a spicy mic. Axes, banjos, fiddles. Various guitars, some cigar box guitars. Just the thing was, it was always just to try to, with one person, you can only do so much. And I'm not, I think if you whittle down strip down to any one portion of what I do, it's not really that great. But when you add it all, then it's enough. Mm-hmm. It's enough, shtick that you don't notice that it's like, oh, that's cool. But if you just listen to one portion of it, maybe not so much. But when you're doing the one-man band thing, I was always trying to keep it entertaining, so that it never fell into a lull. So I started, bringing in other weird stuff that just about the time you might get, okay, I get it. Then all of a sudden now there's an axe comes out.
Yeah, the axe this is the first time we've had an axe on the show. We've had a saw. So between the two of you could cause some destruction. But.
Yeah, I know, right? That's right. And I was actually saying that before the show. I always wanted to actually try to play a saw, but that would not work in a one.
You need both hands
band.
for that.
That, but also just that would be it. It'd be the drum and then a saw. I don't think it would work.
It's a very boring song. I didn't see a fiddle though, so no fiddle tonight.
No fiddle tonight.
Okay.
I'd say the fiddle requires a big audience or the one I do of mine on the live show is I have to transfer from the guitar to the fiddle. So I start the song on the fiddle or on the guitar, and then I get the audience to do like a kind of a call and answer thing and stomp and clap and stuff while I go get, again, a one-man band trick. You keep it going while I
That's
go
cool.
grab this. So yeah, it doesn't translate so well
with two people who can't make noise.
Yeah, I mean, it could. You never know, but I didn't want to ask that of you.
We would have cheered very loudly. I think you are kind of selling yourself short a little bit because I would not say that the things you do individually are like whatever you just said. No, definitely. Like
I would like to be better
great.
at each of the individual things, but yeah, I mean, I try.
It's definitely beyond shtick. Like it's not like just the coolness of the
That's good to know. I sometimes wonder. I think there's been times in my life where I bordered on shtick.
You were stickier
than
others.
now that is one thing though I'm trying to do nowadays is I did the thing. I started out kind of like this that I'll be doing. I did the ragey thing, where it's really just the same thing except just a bit more kind of punk style, kind of folky punk style, but same music, just a little harder edged, a little more amped up. But doing it now, it's I joke about the age thing, but a lot of it is I wanted to kind of go back to the craft instead of look how much noise I can make with one person, which people liked, and they're like, wow, look at all. But I wanted to. But if you took all that away, I still want to sound really good, or as good as I can. And so I've been really just basically to thank you for that compliment. I am trying to go back to the craft of it and just get better at all the little bits and things and just sound better in general, because it's more fun now than just raging and being a spectacle, which was fun, but now I'm just
the next evolution of that.
It's in I want to sound good too.
Yeah, you do sound good. So who would you say your inspirations are? I see a little Jack White in it, actually.
Yeah. Oh, well, Jack White was an early one for sure.
Okay.
Jack White was a huge one for me. Tom Waits is a big one. I'm a big fan of all of that kind of stuff. Tom Waits, Leonard Cohen, those guys, in terms of the songwriting vibes. And I grew up in Texas, so a lot of you don't hear it. You hear the blues. I'm basically blues based, I guess, really, but old country,
Merle.
Yeah. And like Willie, I got to open for Willie Nelson one time.
What?
And I got to sit on his bus, and
That's
but
wild.
that was my first. Not that, but I also, when I was a kid, my dad was just a raging Willie Nelson fan, and that was my first concert I ever went to back in, I don't know, the 80s. And so the outlaw country, but also the old stuff like Hank Williams and those guys. And then fast forward, like Dolly Parton nowadays, like Sierra Farrell, I think is Farrell or Pharrell, I can't write, but people like that. I'm just obsessed with it. Yeah.
And you write your own songs?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. Only do my own. Not for any reason. I mean, not for like
a principle
ego
thing.
reason. No, it's just that's what I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
I was always trying to be a musician, so I wanted to do my own stuff. Okay. I was in a cover band when I was a kid. A few cover bands, so I think it was like just a hard balk against that. Like I want to start doing my own stuff, and then I just never. Now it's like if someone requests a song, it probably looks like I'm being a jerk about it, but I don't know anything other than I know I can sing along with the song, but I can't play anybody else's song but my own. Sorry.
Do you sound like you've been playing for a long time? When did you start?
I started when I was 4 playing fiddle. Yeah. And then, I always say that it's important to know you can't actually play the fiddle at 4. You're just learning how to hold it, you know. And the fiddle you're playing is basically a toy. I mean, it's like this big, it can't even make a sound. You're just, but yeah, I think probably I was starting to, properly play a song at 6 or so, and then I did that for a while. But it was kind of like when parents put a kid in front of the piano. Which I wish I knew and learned how to play the piano, but it wasn't mine. So I kind of abandoned it for a while, and then went to guitar and did that. And then I had a great mentor that taught me this kind of old school. Like he said, go back farther, go back to the roots, and just taught me a lot about music and slide guitar and finger picking and all that, and so went from there. But yeah, it's been a journey. But yeah, started at 4, and then I was just trying to be other people for a long time. Yeah, and then finally
got older.
Yeah, got older and said I just want to be me, because I can't do that wrong.
So tell us about where can people find you now? Do you tour still? Yeah, still
touring. Not as like I was yet, but we're working on getting our legs back under us. But yeah, I just did a show out in Woodstock, New York. I play here in Boston a good bit. I've done several shows over the years of touring, but then since I've lived here at the Middle East,
in Cambridge,
once theater one time at the Rockwell Theater. I think they moved that around, but I'm trying to think of where. Oh, I used to play over in. I think that some of these things are pre-COVID that might be gone. I think a lot of the places, but it was a place I think it used to be called Thunder Road, maybe. Was there a place called Thunder Road?
That sounds familiar. I don't know if it's still there, though.
I don't know where it was either. It wasn't Boston proper. It was maybe like Somerville or something. But anyway, I still do do some PA gigs, you're kind of regional right now. We're not, we used to go coast to coast 2 to 3 times per year, and currently just kind of sticking regionally until we figure it out.
Was that like a COVID kind of reset your
it was.
lifestyle?
It was it was all, we were going full blast. It was just a boulder that was just rolling down a hill, and COVID stopped. I don't know if you've heard of COVID, but
COVID
stopped
it
everything.
Did stop some things,
and so it's been. I mean, I hear this a lot from a lot of musicians and a lot of my old, like kind of big shot proper musicians. It changed the game a bit, and it's harder. And so, I do what I can locally and regionally right now. But the hope would be to go, get down, play. I mean, being from Texas and all those years, I'm only 4 years up here. That was my biggest fan base, so I'd love to get back down there, do a Texas run. The West Coast was always really good to me.
Yeah.
Go do Portland and Seattle and Spokane and LA actually was always great. So yeah, I
think you probably do well in like Vermont area too, though. Right?
I don't know. I haven't done Vermont.
Vermont? Okay.
Boston was as far as I ever got.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean north, as far north. But I mean, when you're in Texas, that was I thought you fell off the earth after Boston.
I think that's still fair.
Yeah.
But you've done some UK and Europe as well.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to go probably every couple of years. We would go to the UK, do the entire UK for about a month.
Nice.
Yeah. And did a Norway festival, did a Shetland Islands blues festival. That was just the coolest, most novel experience we'd ever. It was. So yeah, we really. We've been around, and hope to get back to it.
What are you going to play for us tonight?
Oh, let's see. I think I'm going to start out kind of like I would a show. I'll do a song called Living This Hard, which is, I'm doing a lot of stuff from the original couple albums. Again, just going back to the craft. It's what feels more right for me lately.
Okay.
So, and then there's the second one I'll probably play is Last Red Dawn, which is an old one too, but I'm kind of doing what's higher on the Apple Music and Spotify things. Like, okay, well, this is what people like.
Yeah, give the people what they want.
I'm doing a banjo song. All right, no, I'll do a banjo song that. What was the name of my banjo song? I don't know. You'll hear it.
All right.
Yeah, I can't remember. Whatever.
Then you've got the one with that guitar.
Yeah, and then I'll do a song on the resonator here that is Reckoning Lament, and that's just a fever dream I had one time. I was a domino player.
Okay.
I like playing dominoes, but there's a game called 42, which is from what I did not know this, but I think from what I gather nowadays, it's a more southern thing, but.
Okay.
It's kind of like spades, but with dominoes. And it was just, I had this dream about playing everybody. I was in like a domino hall, which is where all the people played dominoes on tables. And it was just full of like these weird, eclectic people. And so I wrote a song about it and flourished it up, but called Reckoning Lament. So that'll be that one on that resonator. And then the axe guitar, which will be the Annie D Partie, which is the one that's about my wife, Alyssa.
Can you talk about this axe?
I have made stuff. This I did not make. This particular one I didn't make. This was a friend.
Okay.
That is actually, his name. It's his handle on like Instagram is Square Amps, and what he does is he makes. I don't know if he makes a whole lot of things like this, but he made this for me. But he mainly does. He'll take like an old radio from the 40s and turn it into a little amp.
Oh,
like
cool.
A little, it's cool. So cool. It's called Square Amps. But anyway, he made this for me. I've made some junk instruments, some things like this, but this one is better than what I could probably do. But yeah.
So is the axe actually playing any role except being very cool?
Just the neck.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just tension.
Yep. And then so what is that? What
he's got like these are like old. So it's a bass pickup in here.
Okay.
Because I told him I wanted a bass pickup because I have this big bass string on here, and that's so it just gives like this big meaty tone, And then I think his bridge is just is like old battery, like old transistor, whatever they call those things,
Okay.
like from radios and stuff.
Like a tube?
Yeah. Well, what do you call like a I don't know. People that know this are screaming, but and then that's it, really. Yeah, a tuner on the back.
So
and
does it just make one tone?
So I use the I put it up, but I or it's not out yet. But I use a slide, which is like the metal. You'll see it, but it's what you slide it, so you can't actually fret it. It's too high, but you just slide a thing on it, and it just makes a bunch of racket, really. But it's fun.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's fantastic. So where can people find news about you? Do you have a website?
Yeah, it's
social?
just LincolnDurham.com.
Okay.
All of it's just LincolnDurham.com. All of it, Instagram, Spotify, Apple, I don't know, Facebook. I'm never on there. TikTok now. Just whatever. It's Lincoln Durham or Lincoln Durham Music. One of the two, you'll find it. But if you go to my website, all the links are there on the front. So,
fantastic.
Yeah.
Let's hear you play.
All right. Sounds good.
Awesome.
I look forward to it.
Fruit in mason jars, snapping peas in the backyard. Oh, been a year now with my hands in the dirt. Blood on my fingers, can't show it up, so we gon' see him next Sunday come. Why, I ain't gonna make it if the working ain't done. The working ain't done till the setting sun. Whoa. I got an old dreadnought through a bell in the house. It ain't the best of ways, but it'll work somehow. Well, I don't need me a little band, 'cause Mr. Davis says I got a sporting right hand. We gon' see him next Sunday come. Why, I ain't gonna make it if the working ain't done. The working ain't done till the setting sun. Boys, you're about to learn. Oh, there comes a time when the cactus burns. Life ain't never gonna spare the ride, no. Well, I can't keep living this hard. My kinfolks say don't forget who you are. Well, them's the words that's got me living this far. Well, there comes sometimes when I can't reload. Well, I wish my memory didn't serve me so. We gon' see him next Sunday come. Why, I ain't gonna make it if the working ain't done. The working ain't done till the setting sun. Whoa, look out, boys, you're about to learn. Oh, there comes a time when the cactus burns. Life ain't never gonna spare the ride, no. Well, I can't keep living this hard. see no stars tonight. We'll leave all that away, because the blood is spilling floods like a crimson tide. Red skies turn black as night, means you see that next sun comes. But if they're fiery red in the morning light, means you see that last red dawn. Will I see all the misery of what isn't dead and gone, in the sails where they cry in vain, 'cause the ship they're sailing is made up of skin and bone. Red skies turn black as night, means you see that next sun comes. But if they're fiery red in the morning light, means you see that last red dawn. Hello, means you see that last red dawn. Will I hear him? Storms are coming. Oh, they whisper, loud they whisper in the night. Yeah, they do. In the sea, well, it does tremble with it sees at last a red light. Hello, when it sees at last red light. Hello, when it sees at last a red light. You ain't seen my soul for now upon ages, but you'll say I stink from the things that I've done. Well, it clicks to me with their wretched little fingers, as fresh as the holy that you put on. Well, I was born to the hand that raised me on a righteous soul. You all preached upon high. You'd have seen if not for the raptors in your eyes. Woe is me, woe is me. Well, I sway to the edge of this walls. Whoa, 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 yeah. To the cold dark corners of this world, and I've flown my scars and my blood, and I pray for thee and those who like count, judging not lest she herself be judged, judging not lest she herself be judged. Yeah. Whoa, Lord. jawbone's got some age on him, that's why he shows respect. He's long past his prime, his mind's a derelict. Another man with an open book, he laughs at your every move. He's reciting shows and busters on a Robert Johnson tune. He's singing, oh, the sun is gonna burn in. Yeah, the creek is gonna dry. Oh, blackbirds are circling over the hills with a dead folk lie. With a dead folk lie. Sister runs the table, now she's shaking a pile of bones, preaching to lose with a double six counter, or not be condoned. Old blues man a feeling my pony, that's why he screams and howls. He ain't heard the slide guitar since the likes of Fred McDowell. He's playing, whoa, yeah, the sun is gonna burn in. Oh, the creek is gonna dry. Oh, blackbirds are circling over the hills with a dead folk lie. With a dead folk lie. Oh, Lord, I said, yeah. With a dead folk lie. Nettie well in the dark corner raise anxiety. I says the safest place in the world is insanity. You get it? Strangers coming from the four corners of passion and discontent. They sing in harmony of the reckoning, the madness, singing, oh no, said the sun is gonna burn in. Oh no, the creek is gonna dry. Oh Lord, blackbirds are circling over the hills with a dead folk lie, singing, oh no, I said the sun is gonna burn in. Oh Lord, and the creek is gonna dry. Oh Lord, blackbirds are circling over the hills with a dead folk lie. 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 All right, so my wife was the tour manager all the years that we were touring. And the first time I ever played this, she's a very tough, cool woman. And the first time I ever played this song live, she said, "Man, I can relate to that song." And then the second night I played the song, she said, "Wait, that song's about me." I said, "Yes, ma'am, it is." Anyway, it's a pro-tough woman song in a world that was very kind of man-centric. All right, here's a song about a girl who can't seem to quit killing men. And you lay your 6 guns down here. You've been spreading lead all over town. Yeah, put on your rouge, powder your nose, hide your bow legs under your hose. Young shot a man handing. 1, 2, 3, put him out of misery. 4, 5, 6, just to please them wicked kicks. Been burning powder, better burn the breeze. Forever legend as a energy party. Annie, lay your 6 guns down. You've been spreading lead all over town. You better take your black hat and paint it white for Buscadero, put you in his sights. Young shot a man and 1, 2, 3, put him out of misery. 4, 5, 6, just to please him we get kicks. Been burning powder, better burn the breeze. Forever legend as our Tea Party. Let me tell you a little story about Annie now. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. You see, Annie was known for her nasty reputation, born with a short fuse, already lit and suffer from a chronic frustration. Most men would cower underneath the persecution of a pistol point, but every now and then there'd be one seeking fame and find it at a local jib joint. And somehow, Annie always knew, and her eyes would turn red, and then all of a sudden there'd be a bullet in the belly of Fred or Steve or Rick or George. It don't matter. Oh, Annie, you done did it again, girl. You gotta change all your ways. Annie, lay your 6 guns down. Lest you find your 6-footer on the ground. Oh, put on your rouge, powder your nose, hide your police on the house, and shot a man and him. 1, 2, 3, put him out of misery. 4, 5, 6, just to please him we get kicks. Been burning powder, but I burn the breeze. Forever legend as our Tea Party. Tea Party. Oh, Tea Party. Tea Party. Tea Party. Tea Party.
Thank you for listening to Dot Life, which is available on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Dot Life is produced and edited by me, Erin Caldwell. Technical and editing support are provided by Yasser Mahmood. Additional support is provided by the Dorchester Reporter. Thanks to Mayor Michelle Wu, Bill Forry, and Lincoln Durham for joining this week's show. Thank you for listening, and we'd love it if you could share, subscribe, rate, and review the pod wherever you listen. If you are interested in supporting the podcast, visit .lifepod.com for more information.